Me, if you're here, if you can see me, say hi, give me a wave, give me a reaction. It's always great to have validation when you are just talking to the ether. So, and it's a great place for us to start, even, as humans, we crave validation. We'd want to know that we are heard when we're speaking. I think a lot of us can relate to that, especially if we had siblings or a large family, maybe even when you just struggled to like even be heard, and how amazing it was when someone like looked at you and listened to you and they really truly heard you. I think this is also why so many of us get caught up within social media, and we like, those dopamine hormones are going off in the mind, and chemicals are going off in the mind when we are getting the likes and the comments and all of those things, because we crave validation. So, for those who are watching, like, I encourage you today, at least one person today, validate them. Let them know, and it can be a beautiful thing. We often say this a lot in the yoga community and in my women's circles, as like, "I see you." Just to say, "I see you," or "I hear you. I'm listening." That's a beautiful gift to give to someone. I always loved when I first did my coaching certification way, way back in the day, before coaching was this huge thing, way before before all these online and all this stuff. A lot of us coaches would get together and we would coach each other, because we gave each other something that just talking to a friend couldn't give us. Because when we typically talk to a friend or a family member about some troubles, they are judging and they're giving their advice and they're telling us what we should do. And sometimes we just need to vent, and we need someone to ask us questions and say, "So, what I'm hearing you say is," and be that reflection. And so, I encourage you today to do this for one person. It's a beautiful exercise for ourselves, to really, truly practice compassion, to set in our heart rather than just in our mind, and to take on active listening, so that we're listening without the intent to respond. We're listening with the intent to hear and witness someone fully present in the moment. So, when it comes to coaching, and I'm not saying this in any way to sell you anything, I'm just giving you some insight. When it comes to coaching, a real coach, so this is for the coaches as well as like if you are thinking about it or just to witness this. A real coach should not give advice without permission. Right? Wouldn't that be amazing? Wouldn't that be amazing if we talked to anyone, even like all these like sleazy sales and all this stuff, to go, "I hear you. I have a suggestion that I think could help." And if we gave ourselves that pause, that amazing pause for ourselves, the one that wants to give advice, to go, "I have something I want to suggest to you. Would you be open to hearing that?" And for someone who is in reaction mode, to allow them, to give them the power, and this is an empowering moment, to give them that power and to say, "You know what? I don't want any advice right now. That's not what I need right now." And to allow someone to step in and own that feeling, how amazing would our world change if we communicated that way? But often we are in so much reaction, reaction, reaction. And when someone gives you advice and you're sitting there and you're like rolling your eyes at them, and suddenly you just you associate this negative feeling because they're sitting there like spitting advice at you. And it could be something you already know. And you're like, here they're telling me this. What do they think? I'm stupid or something? And then all these spinning thoughts start. So I encourage you today to establish this beautiful line of communication so that we can begin to pause if we are speaking or if we're listening, and really give this like almost like this preface, right? Like, when you read a book and it gives you this kind of like little preface to go, this is what we're going to talk about, but to collect your thoughts enough so that you don't feel like you have to react, that you have to just spit words out. All right. Now, all of that was just, it came out. Feel like we all needed to hear this. I needed to say it. It just came through me. Today's purpose of this live, we're coming back to the decoding the wisdom. So what I do is I pull from this stack of quotes, this beautiful stack of quotes. If you want the link for these, just hit me up. I got them off Amazon. And of course, what do we not get off Amazon now? I know I need to do that less. I really want to step into integrity in 2024 and find more conscious places to order from that are really supporting people. And sometimes Amazon does that too. Side note, tangent. The purpose of this live is I take a quote from this stack and I share with you the wisdom that I have learned, but also just looking at this from perspectives, because often we scroll through social media and we find these beautiful quotes and we just save them and they go into our save folder, and maybe we visit them again, maybe we don't. But it gives us this little ping of motivation, but it's not an extended amount of motivation. We really have to take time to like meditate on it or to examine it. So that's what we're doing here together. We're going to talk about how we can actually implement this, how we can take action off of these quotes, but also how we can see that they are relative, because sometimes these quotes can also make us feel less than. They can make us feel like, oh, well, I'm not doing that. Or, someone's a lot wiser than I am because maybe I don't see it that way, right? Like the quote, everything happens for a reason. There's been many times in life that quote has carried me. But there's also times where I'm like, I don't want to see reason in this. There doesn't have to be reason in this. So these quotes really can go so much deeper. So that's why I call this series Decoding Business Wisdom. This is actually episode 13, believe it or not. We still have a whole stack to go. So we've got a lot of time to spend together. Today's quote: I have not failed. I have just found 10,000 ways that won't work. Now, who do you think this quote is by? You might have already seen the answer. Who do you think this quote's by? Doom, 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 doom. It is by Thomas Edison. I guess that's why they put the light bulb up here. Someone who tried and tried and tried and who had such determination. And I'm sure, I think there was another person that was doing something similar that found it right after him. So it would have happened regardless. Our world, our community, our global community needed this. But if it wasn't for people like Thomas Edison that were so driven and so inspired and had this, I don't want to call it a weight, but sometimes it does feel like a weight that is put on us, where it's like, before I die, I have to accomplish this. I have to pursue it. Even if I just create the steps for the next person to pick up, I feel like this is my purpose. The things that you are diving into, the things that you are just consumed by, maybe in your free time, maybe during work time, that happens too. These things that are consuming you do not have to be curses or burdens. I'm sure some people looked at Thomas Edison while he was, whittling away and think, oh, he's wasting his life in his shop or, doing these things just in this creation. So people will speak. People will speak and they will judge and they'll be like, "Oh, look at him. He's just wasting his life. Oh, he should be doing this instead." Do we see how this all starts to tie back together, doesn't it? That's cool. But people are judging him. People are telling him what he should and shouldn't do. Do you think he listened? Probably not. He stayed true to what was on his heart and what was on his mind. And he stayed the course because he was probably listening to himself, I'm just assuming. And we look at these people who really allow themselves to show up authentically and imagine the way that we can change the world rather than hiding, rather than avoiding, rather than procrastination. I think a lot of times we do these things because it's scary to show up full out. It's can be scary sometimes to say, "Wow, I have this bigger purpose." And when we can do that, though, we really step into that purpose. It takes the pressure off of us. It makes it more than just about me. It makes it less of the things I have to do and more of the things I get to do. But let's also talk about befriending failure. He failed. He's like, I failed 1,000, 10,000 times. But what I really found, that silver lining, is I just found 10,000 ways that it didn't work. That's still progress. No one can take away from you the lessons that you have learned. No one can take those away. And those lessons that we've learned, all of those quote failures define us. They shape us. We allow them to shape us. They don't have to shape us, but those experiences, it's the experience that gets us somewhere. I would far rather love to work with someone or hire someone that has been in it. They know all these ways to not do it. Because as we learn the ways not to do it, we learn the ways to better do it. I say, oh my gosh, you should see my social media posts when I first started. You should see some of the things I used to write when I first started. But action is what takes us forward. It doesn't take us backwards. It might feel like that sometimes, but it's when we get stuck and we start examining the failure, is that when we start to feel like we're failing. But rather, if we just, pick ourselves up and dust it off, we we keep taking those steps. And so to stop getting caught up in these sayings of like, oh my gosh, I feel like I'm taking 2 steps forward, 1 step back, or I feel like I'm taking 1 step forward and 2 steps back. Don't be attached to that. Don't be attached to it. I'm in it. I'm on a journey. I'm learning. And I was listening to a beautiful talk yesterday, and it was saying, when you're on the tipping point of up leveling or changing or making this huge change in life, when you're on the tipping point, everything is unstable because you're on the tipping point. And every little choice you make feels huge because it's teetering. So all we can do is lead with our heart. All we can do is lead with our heart, to lead with great intention. And of course, we also hear these quotes like, the road to hell is paved with good intention. I've been hearing this one a lot. I say, show me an example. Show me an example of a road to hell that was paved with good intention. Because I ask you, was it that intention was false or that intention was true? Was that intention alone and on this path, or was that intention with people getting feedback on a mission for bigger change? We hear these quotes, we hear these nudges from other people, this noise that comes in. But if we don't listen to our heart, if we do not stay grounded, if we ourselves need to be resilient. We need that integrity, and then we need that tenacity. Okay. Thank you for joining me today. I would love to hear your wisdom as well. What did you think about this? What are some 2 cents you would add? What is your big takeaway? Please comment those below. I always love opening up these deeper dialogues. If you would like to continue, I have a couple different options of Facebook groups that you can join where we have additional conversation going. I've got my I Love Yoga group. I've got the Warrior Goddess Wisdom Circle. So you can join either one of those as we continue to explore deeper, because owning your own business is the biggest self-development journey you will ever be on, in my opinion. So there's so much for us to learn. There's so much more for us to go deeper, but also to expand. And I hope to see you soon, if not in another live, maybe in one of those groups. All right.